It does? Did you get my cut? Oh, yeah. Oh, super good quality, yes. Super good. All right.
Let's get to mainstream media coverage over the debate that we all watched last night. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it. I got a lot of them.
The vice president repeatedly goading Donald Trump, trying to get under his skin.
And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
The former president taking the bait.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go.
But Trump throwing the heat right back at her.
Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Dang.
She went out.
One of the most contentious exchanges of the night on abortion. Harris trying to capitalize on Democrats' advantage on the issue.
One does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that.
But she also dodged when asked if she would support any abortion restrictions. While Trump...
Bro, that was like probably one of her peak on direct policy, on like direct attacks against Donald Trump. So much of last night. Holy f, dude. Another one of your moments yesterday got 47,000 likes. What the
Springfield, in Springfield, they're eating the dogs. The people that came in, they're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as...
It's fucking ridiculous, dude. Dude, I'm Trump doing the RFK slot and just like going after, just having the most groiped up campaign that you can do when it obviously was a failure for Ron DeSantis shows me that he has lost his sauce, okay? He's lost it. A lot of people forget that like the most successful campaign he launched was in 2016, and he launched that because he presented himself as a moderate on a lot of social issues that like most normal people don't give a fuck about, okay? Including being pro-LGBTQ. He was like anti-war, pro-LGBTQ. He was not like aggressively speaking about cutting entitlements and shit like that. He has just lost it, dude. He's got nothing. No NAFTA mentions. No like, remember how the Democrats ruined the Midwest? None of that shit. The best he could scrounge up together was, I have a concept of a plan. I will say this much. Donald Trump was probably going to have a boring performance overall and not a good one, but Kamala Harris's consistent baiting worked entirely too well. That is a man who has lost his reasoning, okay? He is so goddamn narcissistic. It is his downfall. This is his own undoing. Okay, by just going nutty mode. Every time Kamala Harris brought some shit up, I was like, there's no way. I was like, there's not a single, there's no reason for him to like invoke these things. There's no reason for him to even like repeat any of those things. And it was entirely too easy. Like shooting fish in a barrel, dude. It was crazy how easy it was. If I'm the Harris campaign, I'm literally showing all of his like lowlights from last night. And just being like, you think this guy who couldn't shut the fuck up about himself because of a couple baits is going to be able to handle Putin? These world leaders are going to play tricks on him. They're going to you know, pull some keys out and start jiggling it, and he's just gonna go after that shining object. First of all, he was so goddamn emotional. You know what I mean? The idea that like he can't even do the women are emotional, which is not exactly an effective strategy anyway. But like he was so hysterical, dude. Our newest ad just dropped. It's 1 hour and 40 minutes of just the debate. That's funny. She did so well that Republicans immediately started doing the conspiracies. If you want to know without a shred of doubt that Kamala Harris clobbered last night, look to what the Republicans are saying. Because if that debate was, you know, a banger for Trump, they'd be doing victory laps right now. Instead, they started crying about the moderators while the debate was going on. They haven't stopped crying about the
Yo, I'll be right back. I gotta check my car real quick.
moderators. And on top of that, Trump immediately went to the spin room and started chirping about Twitter polls. They're crying about the mods. And on top of that, they're immediately locked in on conspiracies like, oh, she had a earpiece. She had a earpiece in her ear. Like they're looking for reasons as to why she actually did so good. That's how you know Donald Trump got gutted. Okay, let's watch some of the highlights and lowlights.
Repeated false claims, prompting a fact check from moderator Lindsay Davis.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
And he refused to rule out signing a national abortion ban. On immigration, Trump trying to pin previous chaos at the border on Harris.
They're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done.
Harris laying into Trump for urging Republicans to kill the bipartisan border deal.
But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised.
Trump responding by repeating a false conspiracy theory.
I will say this much. Kamala Harris's weakest moments in terms of like, the broadest snapshot of the conversation is disaster for Donald Trump. Kamala Harris outperformed my expectations and many other people's expectations. She outperformed her previous debates. She was on it. Okay. She came in hot. She came in assertive. You could tell that she was a little nervous in the beginning. And as time went on and her attacks, her like light jabs at Donald Trump ended up paying off massively. She got way more confident. On the aesthetic front, she was great. She was fantastic. Okay, so liberals, if you were looking for a major W, you got it. Having said that, there were obviously weak moments as well, and I will get to that in a second. But overall, broad analysis of last night. I tweeted this last night as well. If Kamala Harris's goal was to demonstrate competency and show the American broader electorate that she is here and she will be a normal leader, something that Joe Biden definitely couldn't do anymore. She did that. If her goal was to also overall show how narcissistic and petulant of a man-child Donald Trump is, she did that fantastically. I said she put up LeBron numbers on that front. However, if her goal was to get the couch voters, the non-voters, the undecideds, the real undecideds, because the mythical moderate undecided is not a real thing. That's a made-up phenomenon. It's not a real concept at all. Kamala Harris is not like converting Trumpers to her ticket, even though that's what media keeps repeating, even though that's what it seems like they're trying to do. That's not the real people, okay? The real people are people that have voted for the Democratic Party and right now are thinking, I'm probably not going to go out and vote. Those people have a bunch of different reasons for not doing so. In order to get those people to come out and vote, people that consider themselves independent, people that say that they're undecided between sitting on the couch and voting for Kamala Harris. They're not undecided between voting for Kamala Harris or voting for Donald Trump. That's only because Donald Trump was the president and everyone is already, most people, like the overwhelming majority of people that have already voted and will definitely vote this election cycle have already made up their minds on him. That is precisely the reason why it did not even reflect in a minor bump in terms of the way people perceive Donald Trump when he got shot in the head. That's how polarized people are on Trump. That's how convinced they are.
Hassan's a ding. I mean, is he not right though?
are. They were either crying tears of happiness that he got shot and survived, or crying tears of sadness he got shot
Right,
and
Dean.
didn't die. But nobody was like, I don't know. I think now that he got shot, I feel like I'm more on board with Donald Trump. So that's the reality for him, right? He has a very hard race in front of him. He's a very hard race in front of him, which is part of the reason why I keep saying, especially when you look at down ballot races, especially when you look at like all these other races, like Edinger Mentum calls them normal adult races. Democrats are putting numbers on the board. Okay, so the overall performance of the Democratic Party is good. The overall outlook on the Republican Party is very bad. But Kamala Harris, in order to absolutely win this race, like solidify her lead, has to bring people who are like, I am not going to vote this time around. I just don't give a shit. I don't care. Okay?
About migrants eating people's pets in Springfield, Ohio.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
I do gotta add a note on this. Kamala Harris's like off the ball performance, like off the ball movement, excellent. High marks for that too. She obviously debate prepped and knew that there was a camera on her at all times. So like there was never a moment where she was like presenting herself as like weird. There was a couple instances where she like maybe reacted in a way that I didn't necessarily appreciate, but overall she obviously was very cognizant that there is a camera on her at any given moment, and your off the ball performance is also very important. The way you express yourself, the way you like react to certain things that Trump was saying. In my opinion, she did a pretty decent job on that as well. Donald Trump, as opposed to her, literally was like angry and just constantly looking down like this. That's the type of shit that like normies do care about, even if they don't like hyper analyze it, right? They still see it because it's a vibe that you're putting out. And the vibe that Donald Trump was putting out was seething. He either looked tired or he looked angry. And that's not a good vibe to put out at all. And he didn't look angry because America is fucked. Okay, that's the difference. Because 2016, Donald Trump did a pretty good job of being like, I'm angry because the establishment fucked you over. I'm angry because you're angry. We're both angry together. I'm angry for the same reasons that you're angry for. Here, he just comes across as, I'm angry because they're yelling at me. I'm angry because they're calling me out. I'm angry because she said that people leave my debates, or people leave my rallies. So the more you can successfully show people that Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about them and only gives a fuck about himself, the better you're going to do. And on that front, Kamala Harris did a really good job. She did. Don't worry. I'm going to still talk about the negative consequences of like maybe even Kamala's successful performance last night in a brief moment.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
The candidates also
Like I wouldn't have laughed in that situation because like that's a layup. And also what he's saying is like crazy. Sure, you're deflating it, but that's a perfect opportunity for her to be like, see, this is what we mean when we say Republicans behave in a weird way, because that's like cutting, right? That cuts into Donald Trump. This is what we mean when we say Trump is being weird. That's not a real story. Not only is it not a real story, it's a very racist story. You just made that up. These are some immigrants are what makes this nation great. We're a proud nation of immigrants. And I said this last night as well. Like the way that she should have retorted on that front, even if she were to be as moderate as possible, is to basically say this is a completely made up story. Now, one must ask the question why Donald Trump chose to go with this story that is completely made up. He wants you to hate your neighbors. That's why. He wants to divide this country. We are a nation of immigrants. My parents are first generation immigrants. I'm Kamala Harris now, okay? Donald Trump's grandparents are immigrants. Every single person in this country, with the exception of Native Americans, can trace their origin back to someone who didn't used to live here. That's what makes this a strong country. And Donald Trump wants you to hate that. There are very real reasons as to why Kamala Harris should absolutely push back on the immigration stuff, even if it's not because like she wants to win the election, but because this is genuinely going to cause harm down the line. We are moving towards straight up pogroms.
Sparring on foreign policy.
It is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors.
The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent.
And getting personal, Trump asked about his statements questioning Harris's racial identity.
So I'm
I
asking,
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was
Like, what a terrible, terrible fucking response. Like, just jumping on that fucking landmine. What an idiotic move from Trump.
black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with
No, I like Hasan. Like, in all genuineness, I like Hasan and agree with what he says. Yeah.
me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
Less than 2 months until the election, Trump still refusing to concede he lost the last one.
you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say that.
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically.
Oh, wait. Why did you say, oh, I said that? If you didn't say that? Because that's weird. That doesn't.
Well, I can't answer any questions. I'm watching this video to learn, you know, just like you guys. So if you have any questions, I can't answer them.
Doesn't make no sense either. Interesting. Oh, I was just being sarcastic. I mean, he's just got nothing, dude. He's got nothing. Okay, he's got nothing on it. Recognizing that he said that it's a lose-lose. It's just a lose-lose for him across the board. Because if he constantly harps on it, then he's a loser. He's just like crying over and over again about how he lost. And even like people who want to support him are probably going to look at that and be like, come on, dog, shut the fuck up. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh my God. Stop crying that you lost, you know? It's already incredibly stupid, right? Because if the Democrats are like stealing this election just like they stole the last one, why the fuck are you going out to do a goddamn debate anyway? Why are you even going out and voting? It makes no sense.
Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval.
The reality, there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud, and President Biden won the 2020 contest. Harris using the moment to call Trump unqualified.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election,
I saw this part live. This was funny.
it leads one to believe that perhaps
Dang, I still have coffee all over my pants too. I should probably, I at least gotta change shorts. Hold on. I'll be right back.
we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling.
Dude, the pivotal moment in last night's debate was when Kamala Harris said, people leave your rallies. He was already like pissed off from the jump. But the moment that she said, people get bored of the same old bullshit at your rallies and they leave by the end of it, something changed in his mind. Like he just reset. Like he literally, from that point on, he just could not be normal at all. He snapped and it was downhill from that moment. Okay, from that moment on, he was just losing it. And she kept needling him while also packaging it in a, I would say.
Oh, I just saw your comment. You can't answer, but you agree with him. How would me agreeing with the Hasan answer the question of what's her plan? If you can answer me that.
a very expert way. She needled him in a way that he would eat the bait every single time. But she also wouldn't just do it like by directly needling him. She would also package that with like actual like issues that Trump has. And it was just terrible. It was terrible for him.
He became increasingly rattled and angry, yelling a lot of his answers as Kamala Harris tried to provoke him, tried to get inside his head, hitting some key touch points, ridiculing his crowd size, talking about how he is saying he is mocked by people around the world, talking about the long litany of former senior Trump officials, people that Donald Trump hired who now say that he is unfit for office. And Trump clearly was upset. He took the bait over and over again, was unable to really take the argument to Kamala Harris. Now, this morning, George, Donald Trump is saying this is his best debate ever, his great.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like delusional, right? This is completely delusional in a way that like cuts against like what people could see with their eyes. Even if you are a cultish MAGA loyalist, you probably still saw him not in the best light. There were people last night who were like, I'm a MAGA supporter. I still think he's going to win. But he did a terrible job last night because he did. Like he couldn't get any of his good points across. He had 3 major strong suits, okay? 3 major positions where he is objectively polling better than Joseph Robinette Biden and Kamala Harris. This is very important, as opposed to 2 points that Kamala Harris is better, outperforming. 2 important points that Kamala Harris is outperforming Trump on. For Kamala Harris, it's simple. Abortion. An insane. It's just like not even a question, right? Abortion is the #1 thing for the Democrats, right? It's the #1 point that they have. And Joe Biden historically was doing terrible on that front in terms of communicating because he's Catholic and he's old and he doesn't really like abortion anyway. And Kamala Harris, both being a woman and also, you know, having that like personal connection to this insane situation that we found ourselves in, did a really good job presenting exactly what the problem is with Trump's restrictive policies that he had to take ownership over. The second point that she's good on is demonstrating competence and showcasing that he's narcissistic. That one, and also you can tie that to like democracy, preserving democracy, which was a big point for the Democrats in general. But the 3 key points that Donald Trump outperforms the Democrats on consistently are much more important, with the exception of abortion. #1, immigration. Americans, due to no counter message Democratic Party and an unimaginable amount of propaganda, are very right-wing as it stands currently on immigration. Very right-wing. But for Donald Trump, all he needed to do for immigration was to simply say, you guys made this a problem. You called my supporters racist for years, and now you act like you want to build a wall. Well, we don't trust you. You've mishandled the situation, and we don't trust you. Why should anybody ever trust you on this? Like, if he were to just simply stick to a coherent message on the issue of immigration, he could present himself as like a normal person on an issue where he is obviously outperforming the Democrats on by wide margins. And it's
We were grinding Slayer. Mostly trying to get 89 Slayer. I mean, really trying to get 90 Slayer, but I'm not going to get 90 tonight. So, goal is 89.
It's especially a predicament for the Democrats because there's no real counter to it because you've already adopted.
Camera will be coming back in just a second.
Their right-wing framing that like immigrants are a threat to this country, which is really terrifying. But the high notes on this immigration front from the Donald Trump camp, like what people will remember this debate on the issue of immigration is only going to be how he said they're eating the dogs. Everyone is going to remember this debate on your most powerful point as they're eating dogs. They're eating dogs. We got to do something about it. It's just, you sound like a delusional old man who's yelling at clouds. And sure, there's people in your base that love that, and they also are delusional old men, but you're not going to win anyone else like that might be in the margins. The other 2 issues that he's also strong on is the economy. And it was insane to me, actually, as a debate watcher, that on the issue of the economy, he immediately dialed it back and started talking about how Haitians are eating dog. Like, that's crazy. He doesn't even have policies for the economy, and he's still defeating the Democrats on this front. Think about that. Like, because people are understandably upset with the way that the economy looks like right now. That's how upset they are. that they're like, this guy's policyless, but it doesn't matter. I still think it's like, you know, I still think he'd be better than the Democrats. And he still fucked it up. You should have absolutely hyper-focused on that. But he didn't. Yeah, he didn't even mention no tax on tips because he forgot everything. He got so mad. He got so mad that he had nothing. There was a moment where he literally said, oh, I have a concept of what I can do, which is so bad. And last but not least, Donald Trump outperforms Democrats on wars, okay? Especially Israel-Palestine. Part of that is because he doesn't part of that is because he's not the president. He's not the president. So people do not attribute to him the failures of the Biden administration, and maybe even attribute too much failure to the Biden administration in terms of foreign policy. In 2016, he presented himself as a peaceful dove, as a peaceful
grinding for Iraq Soar. I actually would love to do Iraq Soar, but no, I'm not. I'm actually just trying to get base 90s. So once I get 90 Slayer, I'll probably get base 90s. I'll have to do farming, agility, construction. Is that it? Yeah. And then I'm going to go back and get 92 Slayer. Is it 92 or 94? I don't remember. But then I'm going to go back and get the Slayer level to do a Rack Sword because I really want to do a Rack Sword now. Oh, you're 90? Dude, you only have 2 more levels.
Dove, as opposed to the failure of the Iraq War. That played really fucking well. That played really well in terms of the broader electorate. They saw him as a very different kind of anti-establishment, maybe even perhaps moderate Republican. Peace through strength type shit. He normally acts like, you know, he's going to be a strong negotiator and that's why he's going to cut deals. Obviously, all of this is fake and bullshit, but people do want to believe him on this front. I know you are memeing when you call him a peaceful dove. This motherfucker 100% a deranged psychopath that eludes the mafia. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is actually a peaceful dove. I'm saying that he used to present himself as that, and people responded positively to that. It's how you portray yourself that matters to a lot of people who just kind of look at the optics of the situation. And the optics of the situation on 3 of his major strong suits was Garbo. And then beyond that, he also flubbed the abortion one that was going to be the strongest part for Kamala Harris and was going to be very difficult for him to climb out of. He kept repeating this like idiotic notion that like everyone actually wanted Roe v. Wade to be repealed, which is utterly ridiculous. And then he even turned around and said, in places like Kentucky and Ohio, people voted more progressively on abortion, demonstrating that even in those states that where people should have been demanding this overturning of Roe v. Wade, they still want to carry Roe v. Wade. They want to protect it. He absolutely fucked up on that front too. My aunt literally told me that she's voting for Trump because he keeps money within the U.S. instead of starting war abroad. My auntie's a self-described Democrat in New Jersey. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, people hear that and they remember that. Like, people prefer to hear no new wars as opposed to the most lethal military. Yes, exactly. In its most reductive terms, people would rather hear someone say, I didn't start any new wars and I will end the wars that currently exist, rather than someone who says, no, we have to have wars and I'm going to have the strongest military force of all time. Let's continue.
Greatest debate ever, but there are several indications that not even Donald Trump thinks that is remotely true. The first was the way he walked out before all those reporters in the spin room last night.
86 rune crafting stopped me from base 90s. How did you train your last few levels? I actually just I did blood rune crafting. I actually enjoyed it. Like, I'm not even gonna lie, because if you do Guardians of the Rift, the rune crafting minigame that they have now, you can get remnants of the eye gear, and then that gives you extra runes whenever you craft them. And I think XP runes, it may not be XP. I don't really remember, to be honest. But you get like a crap ton of extra runes whenever you're crafting. So if you go do blood runes while you're wearing the remnants of the eye outfit, and then you have your lantern, you just get so many more runes. And it's kind of enjoyable. I like blood rune crafting. But then, I mean, Guardians of the Rift is really fun too. You just finished maxing attack, strength, and defense. Very nice. 300k off 98 attack day. Come on. Ooh, and 20K from 91 or 92 defense. I'm almost 99 hit points.
And this morning, he actually refused to even commit to a debate on Fox News. He doesn't seem to want to get on the stage again with Kamala Harris.
Okay, and Martha,
Exactly, and Donald Trump fired back, of course, saying that the war in Ukraine would not have happened. Vladimir Putin would not have gone in if he were president. He says the same thing about Israel, offered absolutely no evidence. And in fact, at one point, David Muir saying directly to him, do you want Ukraine to win this war? Seems like a pretty simple question, George, but he never answered that.
Someone's been backing up while this person's talking for a long time.
Question. He also claimed that millions had died, that fake numbers were coming out of Ukraine. Kamala Harris basically just looked at him and smiled. She was asked directly, of course, about Afghanistan and whether she takes any responsibility for that disastrous
Dang, I need more coffee creamer. I'll be right back.
pullout. She did not answer that.
Yeah. By the way, the media as well. That's why there's so many dumbasses in this chat as well every now and then. Disastrous pullout of Afghanistan. First of all, she did take ownership over it, and she stood 10 toes down and said it was a good thing that they did that, which was correct. That was one of the best points of the entire night. Another major flub from the Democratic Party for not regularly defending one of the most defensible positions of the Biden administration. Four presidents said they'd do it. We did. Exactly. Respect.
We need to do something with the border. It needs to be closed. I am a business owner, and this is something that I, struggle with continuously, and I have been struggling.
In Bucks County, Pennsylvania, too. I'm a business owner in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and we got to get these migrants out. What the f*** are they doing? What?
Sorry, I forgot the video was playing. Okay, I spilled my coffee. I was going to get more coffee. I need creamer. Okay.
What have they done to your business?
I agree that we need strong border controls. I don't believe that we can deport everybody in the country. It isn't physically possible, and our economy would collapse if we did.
Did it surprise any of you that this conspiracy theory about Haitian migrants and cats came up during this part of the debate? And what was your reaction to that?
Yes. Even Donald Trump, I did not think was going to go there.
I was initially had that same reaction. I was like, what is he doing?
I was shocked. I said to myself, what is he doing? So it took me back to when COVID came and he was calling it the China virus.
Wait, hold on.
That same reaction. I was like, what is he doing?
I was shocked. I said to myself, what is he doing? So it took me back to when COVID came and he was calling it the China virus.
We also talked about some of the exchanges over reproductive rights. Take a listen.
I think that Kamala stood her ground on her position. I think that she's always been more pro-choice.
He kind of avoided it. He didn't want to touch the subject.
Are you concerned about an abortion ban?
In that aspect, I am. I do believe in a woman's right to choose in certain circumstances.
She tried to emphasize that it's the voters' right.
Savage, 100% agree.
To put like abortion protections and make it a state referendum. He tried his best to try and give a non-answer or deflect it, but because that's really all he could do.
Oh, wait, it's because... Wait, was that because I said I spilled my coffee? No, wait, no, just kidding. Sorry, we were talking about the video.
Do at that point.
Most of the group was split between Harris and Trump voters who told me that the debate mostly reinforced their views about the candidates. But one voter was undecided. He said after the debate he is considering Harris, although he's not completely sold.
I've been getting slightly irritated with actually the both of them, especially with people like me as a veteran and as somebody that's kind of on the fence for either or. They're not making it easy to choose somebody that I feel as though is actually right. They're not giving any solutions to any of the problems. And from there, it just seems like it's more entertainment than it is actually debating on problems.
I mean, that was like one of the, no.
Does anybody know, I know this is like a random question, but does anybody know if, can you stream like debate stuff on TikTok? I'm learning that you can't like do anything on TikTok. Like I started streaming Hassan and then like it immediately was like, learn more about the debate. Your stream will be not pushed out to as many people. So like, wait, what?
Oh, I look, we say undecided voters are dumb, but like that was the one
Wait, maybe that's because he cussed. No, because it said learn more about voting. Doesn't make it any
coherent person. He's not wrong. He literally is right. He's like, neither of them are addressing anything meaningful. And it's correct. Like on the issue of abortion, obviously Donald Trump did a horrible job. Kamala Harris did a great job. You know what her positions are on that. You know what his positions are on that. But he's like, as a veteran, I'm looking at some of these problems that I'm experiencing, and neither one is like what do you say to that guy? Do you say, excuse me, sir, have you not considered that this is the opportunity economy and startups are going to get $50,000 in tax breaks? Like, do you think that that's a valid position? Think about it. Think about it. Is that the actual thing that you're going to get this guy on? Why don't you start a small business, sweetie? What the f is wrong with you? It's the opportunity economy. Go ahead. Tell him that. No, that motherfucker probably has issues with healthcare, bro. Just like you do. Think about the problems that you experience, okay? Think about the problems that you experience on a day-to-day basis. Wouldn't it be nice to hear from a politician in terms of like addressing those problems? Rent's out of control. They say we're going to do some kind of, we're going to go after landlords, corporate landlords that are price fixing. They say that. Kamala Harris says that. Didn't say it at the debate. She couldn't even get herself to say Donald Trump is a landlord. That's the type of shit that would be very meaningful for a lot of people, for a lot of voters. There are people here in the suburban safe community that bring up migrant crime during HOA meetings, and I want to throw chairs at them. These borders are an issue. Medium voters are everywhere, and it's maddening. They're so stupid and overwhelmingly white/privileged. Yeah, part of the problem is because there's no counter messaging on this front. Just like with crime, it is a panic narrative. It is collective hysteria. It is collective delusion. Like the reality and the empirical evidence does not match up with their hysterical opinions. And the reason why they have this hysterical opinion is because the Republicans have run the table on this issue and they keep pumping it over and over again. I don't want to wait for another Trump presidency for the media to remember how cruel and unusual the Trump administration was in terms of like its treatment of migrants, okay? Dragnet operations from ICE, child separation at the border as a deterrence mechanism. These were things that were objectively cruel, okay? And people hated it. People hated it so much. Why is the question you must be asking yourself. Why did they hate it? Because it was, one, insane, incredibly violent, and two, the Democrats were campaigning on it over and over again. And the media was covering it relentlessly. And that reality was reflected in the polls. That's why when you look at like 2020 polls in terms of immigration and who would handle the situation better, Biden was sometimes even beating Donald Trump. I don't want to have another abortion style situation where the Democrats don't act for years and years, and then the Republicans come back into power and they do Hitlerian policy only to have the Democrats use said Hitlerian policies to their...
Okay, I'm sorry. I have to stop it for a second. I hope one day my tiny little brain can understand everything that he's saying, because I just don't understand it.
Their advantage to fundraise and win another election.
Like the more I watch, the more I'll understand. Okay.
And then not do anything about it. That's the problem. And that's precisely what the Democrats...
I mean, like, I get the point. It's just like more of the like words he's using to describe the different types of people and everything. Okay.
Did with abortion. They waited and waited, and the Republicans kept needling on the issue of abortion. They used the Supreme Court of the United States to take away that right, and the Democrats fundraised off of it. What good is that for the red state teenager who is a victim of rape, who can't go and get this medical procedure? What good is that for that person? She's just a talking point. It's disgusting. And I fear that we are bouldering towards this idiotic situation, this unimaginably cruel situation where the Republicans are going to win and then they're going to do concentration camps. And then we're going to be like, oh man, this is really bad. Abolish ICE, please. Abolish ICE. But don't worry. They'll be able to fundraise off of it, you know, and maybe win the election 8 years after we did concentration camps. Oh.
All right, this one's about Elon.
So this is the Elon Musk portion of this, the conversation that I didn't want to get to because it's like truly one of the grossest things I've seen in quite some time. Elon Musk tweets out, "Fine, Taylor, ... you win, ... I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life." I can't begin to explain to you how fucking disgusting this is if you can't comprehend what's going on here, where it's like this gross 50-year-old man is like,
who's Taylor?
Like, don't worry, I'll fuck you, babe. Travis Kelce is allowed to kill Elon Musk. I think Travis Kelce is allowed to kill Elon Musk with his bare hands. You know, you want to do old school medieval style bullshit? I think this motherfucker thinks he has prima nocta rights. What a fucking, like, what a disgusting thing to tweet out as a
Why? But what was like? What's the context? Why? Why did he say that?
A 50-year-old billionaire. It's so fucking gross, dude. Nobody wants to fuck your nasty ass, Elon. You fucking dingus. You gross fucking creep. It is so nasty. This man has
like, was that just a tweet out on a whim? Like
11 children, dude. He has fathered 11 children. At what age are you not allowed to make a joke? Dog, this isn't just a joke. The joke is, hey, Taylor, I'll fuck you. Ain't nobody wants you to fuck Taylor Swift, brother. Oh, dude, I don't get it. Oh, it's such a funny joke, dude. Elon Musk raping Taylor Swift. Funny joke. In the normal world, if you make a joke like that to a coworker, you're fired. When I bring up his age, that is to say, you should fucking know better. You have lived 50 plus years on this planet. You should have at a certain point realized that talking like this is fucking gross. Stalker ass motherfucker. I'm not quite the target audience, but nonetheless, very impressive indeed. Some risk of popularity decline after this award. I speak from experience, lol. Congrats. I recommend posting some music or content videos directly on the X platform. Your tweets are good. More countries should tweet like this. No fun being all stuffy. I think.
Wait, these are all replies to Taylor Swift. That's weird. That's weird.
He's like talking about Israel in this situation. For example, Taylor Swift 13 hasn't posted anything in 3 months. Please come back. Stalking ass motherfucker. Sexual predator memes, dude. Jesus Christ. Creepy ass, obsessive ass, pathetic fucking loser. This shit really pissed me the fuck off, dude. It's so gross. It's like a double Monty because he's like going back to the Haitian cat thing as well. Like he had to hit that line too. It's like, not only is he being like a gross, repugnant freak, and by the way, if you don't read this as a gross, repugnant freak behavior, you might also be a gross, repugnant freak. So listen to the old man in the room. Do not behave like this. Okay? This shit ain't cute. It's not sweet. Everyone will speak behind your back. If you think you can behave like this, okay, and Elon Musk certainly can't either, but if you think like, oh, this is just a funny joke, like I'm telling you right now, every single person that you make jokes like this in proximity of will talk shit behind your back, if not immediately to your face. Like, do we just not have any decency? I can't
immediately to your face.
I can't believe I'm the one saying this. Like, I make dick jokes on a regular fucking basis. This is just so gross, dude. I think people, especially men in powerful positions, are far too comfortable speaking out of pocket like this. It's crazy. They should not feel so comfortable at all. Like, it's mind-boggling to me. They do this with AOC too. It's like, you can disagree with shit that AOC says and does, but like the moment where you're like, oh, you're so, I bet you want to fuck me, AOC. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. What a fucking gross loser you are, dude. You just straight up are just, you're openly saying like you don't see women as human beings. You just see them as like objects of sexual desire. That's a goddamn congressperson you're talking about. And with Taylor Swift, that's like a fucking, like you shouldn't talk about this with anyone. You shouldn't be talking about this way with any woman whatsoever. Especially when you're a fucking 54-year-old adult, dude. What the fuck? Like,
Yeah. And it's the same guy that Donald Trump said that was going to head the investigation into the government or the audit or whatever. Bro.
There is no humor in this. This is just gross. It's nasty. It's creepy. And I think you should know. If you find this to be like kind of funny, I'm telling you right now, you're a gross, creepy little man-child. It's crazy that this fucking billionaire weirdo said it on his fucking application.
I wish I understood it more. Like, whenever I read it, I'm just like, okay, this is the weirdest sentence that's ever been put together, but I have no context. It's like, it's just weird.
Dude, maybe he knows her. No, man, shut the fuck up. That makes it even worse. I can feel the sweat from this post. It's so goddamn grimy to say about like some random person. If you have a sister or a
like I just don't. Why did he put you in? Were they having an argument?
mother, okay, or any woman that you care about.
Oh, sorry. I just understood it. Elon is trying to get Taylor to get back on X to post and stuff because she stopped posting on X. And then he said that he will give her a child and guard her cats with his life to get her back on X. Okay, now I understand. I get it.
About to a certain degree.
Yeah, that's weird. That's super weird.
Think about how you would feel if a relatively powerful person, maybe their boss, talked about them like this. I don't think you would appreciate that. I think you'd want to protect them. I think you'd want to defend them. I think at that point you would understand.
Dude, if anybody talked like that at my job, you would be fired. Like, you would be immediately fired.
Maybe this is unwelcomed and gross. Now imagine that person having a massive platform that they purchased, okay, and billions of fucking dollars. True. This is the guy saying this shit, by the way.
Jump again. There we go.
Like I said, dude, if this was a working class individual, they'd be fucking fired. And they should, by the way. Unacceptable, dude. Now let's hear what this fucking dumbass had to say about it.
Fine, Taylor, you win. I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life. So he's mocking, he's exposing the ridiculousness, right? It's like, Taylor Swift, you are a young, pretty girl. Do you know what the gang members from Venezuela do to young, pretty girls? It ain't pretty.
Exposing the ridiculousness. Everybody knows Venezuelans love to rape. Oh, this was a phenomenal take from JD Vance as well. We're just going on the fucking sweaty loop.
Why has everybody been hating on Venezuelans? That's all I've heard about for like the past week. It's crazy.
Loser brigade about the Taylor Swift endorsement because it really bricked the brains of every single person. Let's watch the least self-aware person talk about this issue.
Speak to women voters who obviously they care about what she thinks.
Of course. Well, look, we admire Taylor Swift's music, but I don't think most Americans, whether they like her music or fans of hers or not, are going to be influenced by a billionaire celebrity who I think is fundamentally disconnected from the interests and the problems of most Americans. Look,
you are the blood boy of Peter Thiel. You are now the bitch boy of Donald Trump. They are both fundamentally disconnected billionaires. What are you saying? There's not a fucking billionaire dick you haven't rode at this point. And they all disrespect you directly to your fucking face, as a matter of fact. Like Donald Trump in front of 60 million Americans called your ass out for not knowing his positions. He was like, yeah, threw you under the bus again, which you should have known that was going to happen inevitably, considering what happened to the last guy who was his fucking vice president. His fans tried to execute him, dog. I wish you well. I wish you well. I hope, we'll see what happens. Here's how Elon sounds when he makes this joke.
Fine, Taylor. You win. I will give you a child and guard your cat with my life.
That is how he sounded. Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris, and more importantly than Kamala Harris, Taylor Swift endorsed Tim Walz, like quite a bit. And the Taylor Swift Instagram post helped drive a surge in voter registration. Apparently, Vote.org recorded more than 35,000 registrations. Taylor Swift drove nearly 338,000 people to Vote.gov with Kamala Harris endorsement post. Now, we don't know how many people have registered since then, but it got 338,000 people in less than 24 hours to go to the fucking website to register to vote. It makes sense, though, for like there to be a 10% conversion rate of that, maybe even higher, depending on how much more she pushes. But ultimately, I think that, yes, celebrities have an incredible amount of influence, especially those like Taylor Swift. So yeah, this will definitely be helpful overall. It is kind of wild. I mean, I'm not making a statement about like the insane amount of power that like we give celebrities at this point as a society. It does call into question, where the has she been about Palestine? We truly need to study the praising of the bare minimum of celebrities. Yeah, maybe if she like hugs Miriam Adelson tomorrow and then Swifties get mad at her, she'll have to come out in defense of Palestine or something. But of course, this is like really frustrated people, including Megyn Kelly. Let's hear what she had to say.
Taylor Swift, yeah, she posts a picture of herself with her cat. Would you look at this? You can, of course. Like, you can kiss your sales to the Republican audience goodbye, Taylor. Hope you enjoyed them while you had them. And this is what.
I don't get it. I like the picture. That's a cute cat.
Hope you enjoyed them while you had them. And this is what she posts. Like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now's a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about the proposed policies, etc. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of her running mate, Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. Oh my God. So this woman is fine with his plan to take custody of the children from parents who don't want them to chop off their body parts and put them in Minnesota court's custody so the body parts can be chopped off and they can be sterilized outside the custody of their parents. And I don't give a shit who gets upset. This is disgusting. If she wants to vote Harris Walz, she can do it all she wants. But to say the reason she's doing it is because of Tim Walz's stance on LGBTQ, F you, Taylor Swift. Can I tell you something? I criticized her about 6 months ago when she came out strongly in favor of, she went to a fundraiser to raise money for Hamas, supposedly Palestinians, but the group that was doing the fundraising was known to funnel the money to Hamas.
She's talking about how Taylor Swift went to a comedy show held by, Rami Youssef?
She just went to a comedy show.
Is that his name? Like that one Muslim comic? She went with like Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid, I think. And that's what she's talking about. She just went to a comedy show. These people are fucking disgusting, dude.
That's crazy. She just went
It's because
to a
of
comedy
Tim Walz's stance on LGBTQ.
You getting that mad?
F you, Taylor Swift. Can I tell you something? I criticized her about 6 months ago when she came out strongly in favor of, she went to a fundraiser to raise money for Hamas.
How, bro? How do you go from going to a comedy show to holding a fundraiser for raising money for Hamas? How do you get there? That's crazy. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard. That's crazy.
JD Vance being insanely racist on the timeline. I covered this yesterday. I think it's pretty insane, but totally expected that we have officially gotten to a point where like Republicans are just letting it fly. They are basically one step removed from just like openly saying the N-word, like on the timeline. I mean, because they probably do say it off the timeline. We're almost there, you know. We're almost there. We're almost there in terms of just like basically saying slurs. The JD Vance story was so unimaginably racist, unimaginably insane, right? JD Vance appears to backtrack on false claim about Haitian migrants in Ohio. And it's like that right there, like this article right here from the New York Times, the gray lady, the paper of record, is being incredibly kind to JD Vance. So kind that it almost feels like it's a Fox News article. Like, you're the New York Times. Just say exactly what's going on. JD Vance, as an opportunistic white supremacist, ran with a false claim that Haitian migrants were stealing and eating people's pets, okay? Domesticated animals.
So he basically read a Reddit post and then thought it was real and went and told the world.
Seemingly appears to backtrack from false claim about Haitian migrants in Ohio, hides the truth. It hides the truth. The truth of the matter is that there was a fake story, email chain style fake story that your grandparents would probably believe on Facebook about a police body camera footage from Ohio, but not the place in Ohio that they're talking about where there's a lot of Haitian migrants is Canton, Ohio, was where the body camera footage was, where it was a black woman being arrested. She was having a mental health episode. She was obviously like crazy. She like stomped on the head of a cat and started eating it in front of the cops. And then they were like, this is what Haitian migrants are doing. Haitian migrants are stealing people's cats and eating them. And immediately the Senate Judiciary, the GOP Judiciary Twitter account started posting about like,
oh my gosh, dude. Protect our ducks and kittens.
save our ducks and our cats, AI images. Donald Trump started memeing about it.
Oh my gosh, dude. That's so funny.
Elon Musk started memeing about it. Ted Cruz started memeing about it, saying like, oh, vote for Donald Trump so we can stop people, you know, Haitian immigrants from stealing your cats and your ducks so they can eat them. Now, this is a career ender. In any other place on the planet, that
except here
is a career ender. This is when you pack it up, you're like, wow, this is incredibly racist. You probably should quit politics. You should be permanently humiliated everywhere you fucking go until you do the right thing. And yet we have now officially arrived at a point where this doesn't even take a blip out of your political capital. Your career actually benefits from repeating this racist lie, and everybody just kind of moves on because we move on to the next racist lie. This happened last week with Venezuelan migrant gangs overtaking apartment complexes, and I genuinely thought like, oh, we can't get more racist than this. I was wrong. That now in the distance looks like a normal story, like a oopsie. Now it makes me feel like, yeah, no, I get why people could be duped by that because of how insane this is. Like, these types of stories have always existed. Like, you know, Michelle Obama calls white people crackers. Like, that kind of stuff has always existed in the periphery in American politics. The difference is that was relegated to like the weirdest blogs, right? That wasn't a real story that got like this much mainstream prominence, you know? Like, John McCain's not gonna run around being like, yeah, Michelle Obama called white people crackers, and like Barack Obama got top. Barack Obama got dome from a gay man while he was smoking crack. Like, those kinds of stories back in the day by old school Republican Party members who were also unimaginably racist regardless, those kinds of stories were not presented as like a gotcha, like a real story, right? Like, that wasn't a thing. And it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy that like we've officially gotten to a point where like the sane guy in the insane ticket, the VP pick for Donald Trump, who's supposed to be like the sane, you know, buttoned up guy who's at least like media trained, so we can go on, you know, Dana Bash and talk to Dana Bash with the language that liberals understand. Like, that guy's like, yeah, Haitian migrants are eating cats. That's where we're at now. I fear that this is not good for American political discourse. Eugenics tweet about Haiti has over 7 million impressions. Haiti has an average IQ 6.7. Let's talk about what that means. With an IQ 6.7 or below, the average Haitian, like, this is straight up Hitlerian politics, okay? This is fake eugenicist bullshit. IQ, if you know anything about IQ, you already know that it is not a valid metric for anything. People who place a lot of emphasis on IQ in terms of like how successful you will be in society or how productive of a member you will be in society, unironically have low IQ, okay? That's the only reliable metric for IQ. If you start talking about IQ, and if you're like, oh, dude, it's the most valuable, most reliable way to figure out if someone is going to be successful, now I know you have low IQ. Ironically enough, it still doesn't matter, but what that determines for me is that you're a stupid person. IQ is malleable, okay? The way you take the test, and also how much nutrition you have is going to greatly change the output. Studies have been conducted in India during times of famine and the same population size when they're actually well fed. Their IQ point differential is like 10 to 20 points. That's a massive swing. Nutrition and education play a phenomenal role. It's not like some genetic predetermined value in the way that these psychopathic eugenicists try to.
I'm pretty sure, isn't it? It's just how, like, how fast you can take in and process information and then come up with an answer, right? That's IQ.
Advocate for. This overall is basically the precursor to scientific racism. For those of you who don't know what scientific racism is what was the precursor to Nazi ideology. It was a way to try and justify racial superiority and racial inferiority. That's, you know, most prominent in the all the way up until the early 1900s, but all the way up until like the 1920s in the United States of America. And obviously post World War II, people were like, ugh, this is definitely not a good idea. And not because it's like some secret science that like woke libtards are too afraid to parse through. It's just bullshit. And there are a million different examples of how it's bullshit, like all the way from measuring black people's skull density to try to figure out phrenology, to try to figure out why they were servile. Like it was always a post hoc rationalization for why black people must be a different type and subhuman, a different type of thing, a different type of like living being that actually is better off being enslaved. That is what the ultimate reason for scientific racism was. And if you want to get into it, obviously pre-chattel slavery didn't work in the same way that chattel slavery worked. There was not like generational slavery in that same regard. Chattel slavery obviously accelerated this process and made it significantly worse, which is why historians hold it as a separate thing. And in an effort to justify chattel slavery, Western nations had to come up with a different reason as to why you can make a group of people permanently servile and justify it. That's where the basis of racism comes from. That's where the basis of white supremacy comes from. I don't want to dive into it too much, but ultimately all of that is still associated with this scientific racism of the early 1900s, late 1800s, early 1900s, and it is complete bullshit. It is utter nonsense. The association of like any kind of genetic predetermination for success with IQ is completely ridiculous and oftentimes mostly advanced by racist idiots who ironically would probably have very low IQ or at least like what they think low IQ represents. Well, they ironically represent that. So this guy is obviously making this argument in an effort to be like, if your IQ is low, then you have a predetermined slot in society in terms of the workforce. He says IQ 67 or below, the average Haitian over half of the country would be considered too disabled to be eligible for the death penalty. Someone at this level will struggle to understand the cause and effect of basic things. By the way, that's insane to say, because if we know anything, we know that like America loves executing mentally disabled black people. So that part is also wrong. Every part of this argument is wrong. You know, this motherfucker is not keeping up with the Supreme Court.
Wait, I saw Georgia. Sorry, I live in Georgia. We always do stupid stuff. So that was in Georgia.
People. So that part is also wrong. Every part of this argument is wrong. You know, this motherfucker is not keeping up with the Supreme Court. There is no like eligibility of mental disability for the death penalty. The Supreme Court routinely votes in favor of executing people with intellectual disabilities and beyond. At one standard deviation up from 67, we have an IQ of 82. Around 1 in 6 Haitians are intelligent enough to be a below average janitor. Again, associating IQ with like your destiny, your predetermined like slot in society. At 2 SD standard deviation, we're at 97. Roughly average intelligence in America. Around 2% of Haitians will be as intelligent as every average high school classmate. It could be clerical workers or cooks. I mean, this is literally just like Nazi shit. Okay, just letting you guys know. Ironically enough, these people much
so funny. That's crazy. Someone would even take the time to make that post. It's getting to the point where no one's going to be entitled to their own opinion, dude. I just say whatever you want to say, and if someone has a problem with it, I don't know. I feel like you should say what you want to say, and then learn, like, you should learn like all the points of view and like perspectives, and then come up with your own opinion, and that's it. What's up, man? Got any levels since the last time I've seen you? I don't know. What level Slayer was I? I'm about to be 89 Slayer. But I feel like I've been on this level forever. But what's up, man? What's up, Joshua?
Like much like Hitler originally thought that he had this racial superiority and routinely found out that he did not, that the Aryan race was not inherently superior. What I find really funny about this situation as well is that, like, dog, you are such a racist that legitimately believes that there is racial inferiority amongst like Haitian migrants that are coming in, that you are duped like a child, because racism, white supremacy, makes you dumber. You automatically assume that you have some kind of racial superiority and that there's some kind of racial inferiority. So then you automatically are a dumber person than the average human being who does not have these values. And that's the reason why you will find yourself routinely duped like this. Who the
Dude, Slayer task, I actually thought, I don't know why I was thinking this, but I was like, Slayer's going to be easy. It's going to be just like all the other things. It'll take like 2 or 3 days. I'll grit 90 real quick, just bang it out, be done. And then like a month later, I'm like, still trying to get 90. And I'm like, wow, this is slow. I wish I could just get, what is it? Just give me like a Kraken, just give me a whole bunch of Kraken tasks and I would be super happy.
is falling for this story? You have to be an actual baboon brain dip to be like, oh, Haitian migrants, like, I'm sure they're eating cats. Like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're a racist idiot. Anyway, this racist idiot.
Especially whenever Iraq came out, I was like, I'll just get 92. And then I'm like, no, I think I'm going to get base 90s and then go for 92. I don't know if I'm going to get 90 agility yet, though. I'm either going to do it at Hollow Sepulchre or wait for the new Varlamore agility training method. Whenever that comes out, I have no idea.
Idiot is running for president or vice president. In the last few weeks, my office has received many inquiries from actual residents of Springfield who've said their neighbors' pets or local wildlife were abducted by Haitian migrants. It's possible, of course, that all these rumors will turn out to be false. Do you know what's confirmed? That a child was murdered by a Haitian migrant who had no right to be here. That local health services have been overwhelmed. That communicable diseases like TB and HIV have been on the rise. That local schools have struggled to keep up with newcomers who don't know English. That rents have risen so fast that many Springfield families can't afford to put a roof over their head. One thing that I used to talk about so frequently with Sweden was the anger and resentment that like the average Swede had towards immigrants, Muslims. The very same arguments that you're hearing about like Haitian migrants eating, you know, pets and stuff, that's existed in Europe for quite some time. Early on by some of the most unimaginably racist Hitlerian types, and then later by the average person, right? Because that's usually how racism goes if left unchecked. And what's really interesting is that like a lot of the Swedish reactionary movement directly started as a consequence of austerity and actually started before Muslim refugees started coming to Sweden by larger quantities. And that's what's really interesting. And the same
what's up, Frostbite?
Principle exists here as well. Economic instability and economic volatility born out of economic inequality and austerity creates an environment where people feel anger and resentment. People see the inequality. They get angry about it. They're upset about their conditions being shit. And then they turn around and they look for a villain. And right-wingers slot that shit in so easily. What I'm talking about is austerity that far predates even the war on terror in Sweden, okay? The war on terror and its understandable, inevitable consequence of having like more Muslim refugees go to Europe because of the destabilization of the region. And what's really interesting about this entire process is that like nowadays people don't even think about that. They literally just like made false associations, and every problem that they experience in society, they attributed to refugees. All the while, their welfare states started crumbling and got worse and worse over time because nobody was actually associating the issues with the underlying material inequalities. And that's how capital owners, that's how they run your pockets, okay? That's how they steal your money. You're too busy thinking this guy that looks different than me must have some weird underlying scary purpose for being here, and he doesn't have the same interest that I have in terms of, like, you know, having a normal life. And I'm feeling all of this anger and resentment, this hostility, because the conditions are worse than they were 10 years ago, and it must be the scary brown people. That is the reason why shit sucks. See, the statistics like increasing in Sweden, right? Exploding, skyrocketing in Sweden was a consequence of the Swedish government determining differently, logging each instance of sexual assault, not as one, but each individual sexual assault, if done over a long period of time by like a couple, you know what I mean? If someone is in an abusive relationship, as like individual stats, that actually all of a sudden spiked the statistics, okay? Sexual assault statistics. But psychopathic right-wingers in Sweden immediately used that as an opportunity to shit on Muslims. They were like, I mean, this was so commonplace. Fucking PewDiePie talked about it all the way back in, I believe, 2016. PewDiePie was on a podcast being like, yeah, these dumb right-wingers are like lying about like a change in the statistics in Sweden in the way that like is determined, and attributing it falsely to like Muslims because they just hate like refugees. Here's Kamala Harris bragging about giving amnesty to thousands of Haitian migrants. If you're a reporter or an activist who didn't give a shit about these suffering Americans until yesterday, I have some advice. Spare your outrage for your fellow citizens suffering under Kamala Harris's policies. Be outraged at yourself for letting it happen. In short, don't let the crybabies and media dissuade you, you fellow patriots. Keep the cat memes flowing. How do right-wingers get away with near perfect framing of our socioeconomic problem in the left? Someone who is going to save them from said problems do not even come close to a good framing. It's because moneyed interests are organized. It's much easier to organize a couple people with a lot of money and then design society in a way that churns out more of this structure. Moneyed interests are the ones who are funding colleges, funding think tanks, funding politicians. This happens all around the fucking world. And the media that is also obviously interested in corporations, interested in the bottom line of corporations, will follow the money and will create this cycle of misinformation. And things are, I think, legitimately getting worse. Propaganda is so obvious. Why do people fall for it? Because it's comfortable. If you are a stupid...
You know, it's like me. If you're stupid, no. No, I feel like I recognize most propaganda, but like I tend to believe a lot of things that people say until you give me a reason not to believe you. So
stupid person, it's a comfortable narrative. It's a narrative that you probably have in your mind. You're predisposed to tribalism, and it's a reliable and very comfortable fucking narrative. It's crazy that like the New York Times acted like JD Vance backtracked when he literally said keep the cat memes flowing, by the way. I don't even think it's that obvious for them to be fair. It reinforces certain beliefs. People are incredibly susceptible to one singular powerful anecdote massaged in a certain way.
Except with like politics, whenever anyone says anything in politics, I just immediately think they're lying. Like, you're not going to do that.
Way, Jay Mershon, thank you for this update. This is a great example. The child that was killed by Haitian migrants that Vance is referring to was a child that was killed in a literal bus accident where many more children were harmed. It's so sad to hear, but it's not like the Haitian man was trying to kill this kid. He dropped that in there as though this person like deliberately killed a white baby, right? This scary Haitian migrant came into America to kill a white child. And if you already have that kind of, if you have that racist dog in you, then you agree. You're like, oh yeah, he must have done that. And the interesting part about this is that, and I repeated this before, like we haven't even gotten to this side of the conversation, but even if there was a Haitian migrant who came into the United States of America, was like deeply mentally ill and very violent and ended up killing someone, and it literally in the process said like, I want to kill white people, that's why I came here. If you attribute that to the entirety of a population of people, if you look at that and go, oh, every Haitian migrant is like that, you're racist, dog. That's it. And the easiest way to comprehend that, the easiest way to understand that is by like, when you see a white guy go to a school and shoot an entire school up, okay, and kill a bunch of children and teachers, you don't go, every white guy's doing this, because white people are the in group. They are the dominant group in the social hierarchy, okay, because whiteness is a concept that changes over time. AZGOP, there's no way this is real. Eat less kittens, vote Republican, catch our newest billboard.
There's no way.
Across 12 locations in the Phoenix metro area. No, this is not real. The official Twitter account of the Republican Party of Arizona, hashtag America First. Dude, I'm serious. Like, if the Democratic Party does not counter message against this like anti-immigration sentiment and openly show it for the fraudulent racist bullshit it is, it's gonna get so much. Bro, this is like Klansman shit.
It's gonna get way out of hand. It already did get out of hand. It's already way out of hand, but it's gonna get even more out of hand.
Dude, what are we doing?
Yeah, no, that's yeah, that has to be fake. Maybe. What if it was real though?
What are we fucking doing? What are we doing right now? This is actually insane.
Oh yeah, no, that's fake. You can see the border. Like you can see the shadow behind it from Photoshop.
The cat thing seems more unhinged for Republicans than anything. I'm not sure if it's sticking the way they want, or maybe I'm just a frog in boiling water. Dude, this is the never-ending dynamic that I present as a real problem for future political discourse in this country. I said this after the 2022 midterms as well. Going back to the 2022 midterms, what did I tell you? I told you that like Republicans being weird are grossing people out. Okay, normal voters are getting grossed out by the way that like the Republican Party messages. They don't know how to run a normal campaign. However, there is also an underlying fear that I always had, where I said either they are going to break the brains of enough people and be able to move the conversation even more to the right, or they're going to lose. But it doesn't change the reality that every single time they put forward a meme like this or add on to like how openly racist they're being, there is going to be an additional 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, if not a million people that go, oh yeah, I'm rocking with this shit. Every time they push the needle forward, every time they move the needle further right in the direction of anti-blackness, in the direction of like anti-migrant sentiment.
There are legitimately people thinking that eating dogs and cats is an immigrant problem. Now, yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like, I had people at my work talking about how the Venezuelans were taking over the apartment complexes and everything. And I was like, like, I watched the video of Hassan and I understand why that's not the case, but I also didn't know how to argue it. So I was just like, oh, okay. It's like, you're right. That's the thing too, is I'm like, whenever I'm at work, I'm like, I don't want to argue with anyone. I'll just be like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay.
They are indoctrinating more people into this cause. It ends up normalizing this kind of behavior. By email, a spokesperson for the Arizona Republican Party told Snopes that the 12 billboards were all digital and will be active until September 13th.
Yo, I'm gonna freak if I go into work and they're talking about this. Oh, they're eating dogs and cats.
It's crazy because like these are some of the most underserved, some of the most marginalized people in society. So they do not have an adequate defense mechanism either. There's no one in the pocket for the like big Haitians. There's no moneyed interest backing like Haitian people. So they can't even launch a legal defense against this kind of thing. So the Republicans, being the bullies that they are, can just keep hammering them over and over again because they're defenseless for the most part. That's the reality. Same with trans people. There's really not anything you can do, right? At least there's some level of organization, like a defense structure for trans people in general, but like there's nothing for Haitian people. You know what I mean? You got like maybe a couple migrant advocacy groups and like ACLU and but overall, they got their hands full with every other avenue of attack in general. It's really, really, really scary, dude. Do you think these billboards really work to radicalize people towards the Republicans and not away from them? In my minds, it's too weird to be palatable. No, I agree. I think this probably pushes away more people than it actually wins over. But the scary thing is every time you do this, you are reinforcing the most racist attitudes, and you are
yeah, like people who don't watch the news and don't keep up with everything, like most, I wouldn't say most people, but like a lot of people who don't keep up with stuff, they're gonna see these billboards and these memes and everything, and like everyone, that's the reason why everyone thinks this is real and people are eating cats and dogs, is because like most people that see it are just seeing the meme and like, oh, they must be eating cats and dogs.
Radicalizing people because you're putting it on the forefront. You're normalizing it. You're putting it and saying like, this is me. This is my shit. You shouldn't be afraid. One of the best examples of this is like Nazis no longer wearing Klan robes and no longer covering their faces under the Trump administration. They literally were like out and proud. Why? Why were they out and proud? Because they were like, well, that's our guy. He's saying the things that we say. And
Gosh, could you imagine having the Nazi party be like, oh, that's our guy?
he's saying it boldly. And the only way that they stopped doing that was when they either got unmasked or outed and doxxed, and anti-fascists were like actively fighting against them. And even then the media was like, well, anti-fascism is the real fascism, I think. Oh, methinks there is both sides in this situation. It's like, no, there is no both sides. You got Nazis on the one side and you got people who say Nazis on the other. What are we talking about? I was there. I was covering it at the time in like 2016. In the 2016 era, there was a legitimate point of contention regularly about how like Antifa is a terror group. It's an organization. But you have to remember, like, all of that coverage aside, there were people who said, nah, f that shit. And that's the reason why when Charlottesville, when it happened the first time, had Nazis prominently, openly displaying themselves, associating this dangerous, violent, insane ideology with their own person, right? Openly being like, I don't give a f, yeah, this is me. And then the second time they tried to pull that shit, they couldn't. They had like 50 people show up. Why? Because they were afraid of the repercussions. It shouldn't get to a process in which like people have to take matters into their own hands. Like, I'm not an advocate for vigilantism at all, but there are certain instances where it's obvious that the current forms of governance, the regulatory bodies, do not do anything about this situation because it is not a threat to the established hierarchies. Anyway, I can't believe we got jammed up with this like JD Vance nonsense again after I covered this yesterday. I wish I could say I'm shocked, but honestly, you know, as
I think both sides are pretty unhinged, to be honest. Like, I've just been watching a bunch of videos from different people, and it may just be my algorithm or whatever. I have no idea, but it all seems like a TV show, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't real. This is just like something I'm following, like a TV show.
Things stand,
but it affects our lives.
Not all that shocking, I guess. Things are just getting progressively worse every day. If you do not have a consistent, coherent counter message that mainstream media is going to have to cover, if you are the Democratic Party, you're supposed to be the counterbalance to all this shit. And you're not doing that. You're not presenting yourself as the counter mechanism, the counterbalance, the counterweight. Then the media is not going to cover it.
This is another video. I want to watch it, but I also want to go outside before it gets dark. Yeah, I'm gonna go outside before it gets dark. I'll be back on in like let's see, probably like 45 minutes. I'll be on at like 8:39 EST. Dang, I only have 20 more Abyssal Demons too. It's almost dark though. I think I'm gonna play Core Keeper tonight. No, I'll probably just play RuneScape. How much more XP do I need? Bro, 36k. All right, we'll see you guys in a little bit. Peace. Have a good. I'll be back on.